So before we get into talking about block scheduling, I did want to still do my frugal tip of the week. I try and do this every Monday episode, which is sometimes like a budget / frugal topic, or it might be productivity or something like that. But even though this isn't a frugal budget topic that we're talking about, I still want to share my frugal tip of the week because it's something I really love to do and like to talk about. So this week's frugal tip is practicing gratitude. I really love talking about this and thinking about this, and I'm thinking about doing a separate episode specifically on gratitude. But gratitude can definitely help you live a frugal life and help you stick to your budget, because it's really just appreciating all the things that you have and appreciating them for what they are and how they function, and even just things that don't function a certain purpose, but maybe just something that you really love or you really enjoy, and really just thinking about those things and appreciating those things and realizing all you have and realizing that you don't need all these other things that you think you might need or that other people are getting, or, you know, say if you have like your kitchen table needs to be replaced because maybe, I don't know, one of the legs is a little wobbly or something, or there's like a marker, like a kid drew a marker line on the table or whatever. Like, yeah, it might be nice to get a new table, but if you can't afford it right now, just appreciate it for what it is. It functions, you can sit there, you can have dinner, you know, just things like that. Just really appreciating, you know, you have food to eat, a place to live, clothes to wear, and just kind of think about all the things you already have and appreciating them. So that's kind of practicing gratitude. And you really don't need as much things as you think, and it just feels so good to do it. I really like thinking about that and trying to incorporate that into my life as much as possible. So that is my frugal tip of the week. So now we'll get into block scheduling. So if you haven't heard of block scheduling before, it's basically when you break your day into like time slots and you assign what you're going to be doing during those time slots during the day. So you're kind of really managing your time throughout the day to see what you want to be working on. And, you know, like for example, say, just like real quick, say if you had like from 6 to 7 a.m., I'm going to shower and eat breakfast. From 7 to 8, I'm going to clean up the kitchen, do my morning cleanup routine, and pack lunches. From 9 to 12, I'm going to work on my project number 1, whatever your big project is that you want to work on that day. From 12 to 1, I'm going to eat lunch and take a break. From 1 to 3, I'm going to work on project number 2, and so on. So you kind of are going to break up your day into time periods and put on there what you want to be accomplishing during those periods. And it doesn't only have to be accomplishing things. It does include, like I just said, like when you're going to be showering, eating, taking a break. Maybe you have to run an errand. Maybe you have to bring a kid to a practice or whatever. You're really going to plot out what you're going to be doing each time frame during the day. And you don't want to get down to too tight of time frames. You want to leave some room in there for a little flexibility, but you're going to kind of identify like the major chunks of time. So like, you know, it's kind of like, did you ever like look at your to-do list and you have like all these things on your to-do list and you just kind of look at it and you're like, I don't know what one to do first. They all seem important. When am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? So you're kind of going to take your to-do list and you're going to plot it throughout the week into a time slot. So you don't have it sitting on a list now, worrying about it, having it in the back of your mind. You have it assigned to a time slot at some point during the week. So now you can kind of put it out of your mind and know, okay, I'm not working on that right now, but I have a time assigned to it. And when that time comes, I'm going to get work done on it, and you don't have to like be worrying about those kind of things. So, I mean, one of the greatest things about block scheduling is that it helps you see the actual time slots that you have to work with. You can only do so much in a day, and you have to accept that, because I know a lot of us want to try and get so many things done every day and every week, and you know, but in reality you only have so much time to work with. So when you block schedule and you lay it all out, you can see what's available and what times aren't available, like the time when you're cooking dinner, or you know, the time when you're going grocery shopping, or like all these other things that have to happen in the day that take up time. And by laying it out on a schedule like this, in the time slots during the day, you know, it can also help you from overextending yourself, because there's only so much time to work with. And if it doesn't fit in the schedule, then, you know, you have to like rethink, like, okay, well, is this even possible? So it kind of forces you to prioritize, because if it's not fitting anywhere in the schedule, then either something else has to go or that item has to go, because you can only do so much. And another great thing that's really good about block scheduling is that it keeps you focused on one task at a time. And by focusing on one task at a time, you can be much more productive and get more done on that task, rather than multitasking and trying to get all these things done at once. And even if you're not multitasking, you still have those other things in the back of your mind. Like if you're sitting there working on something and you have this massive to-do list, it's always kind of there, and it kind of bothers you because you're working on one thing, but in the back of your mind, you're like, oh gosh, when am I going to get to those other things? Like I have all these things on my list. So once you get those assigned to a time, put them out of your mind. You can dedicate your focus to the task that's on your time frame for right now and just focus on that. And you'll be able to get a lot more accomplished in that time. So I use this for home and for work. You know, you can really use it to assign any priorities to, or any things you have to do during the day for personal or business. It doesn't matter. You know, you can even have one calendar that covers both. You know, during the times when you're at work, you can have your work priorities listed out, or if you're at home, you can have your home priorities. You can, you know, you can mix and match, or you can do them separately, but you can definitely use it in your personal life and your work life. And, you know, the thing that I really like about it is that sometimes, you know, like I said, I keep going back to the to-do list, but you get overwhelmed sometimes with how many things are on the list and how you're ever going to get to them. So once you can like have it down and you know that today, okay, I might not finish this, but I'm definitely going to make progress on it because I'm going to be working on it for an hour and a half. It really like helps take that stress away, and you know that you're making progress on something. Each of those items that are on your time slot for the day, you know you're going to make progress on them. So it just really helps take away some of that stress. So to go ahead and set up a block schedule, there's different tools you can use. I mean, there's many worksheet templates online. If you search for like block scheduling, free template or some, you know, anything like that, you will find like just like simple PDF or Excel file that'll just kind of have the times listed down the left-hand side, and some of them will have like Monday through Friday going across the top, or some will just be for the weekend, or some will have all 7 days, and you can print out something like that. I believe there's apps. I don't use an app for it, but I know I've seen on like different articles and things that there's apps where you can block out the time frames in your phone. You can just simply write it down on a piece of paper. You know, take a piece of paper, write Monday through Friday across the top, and write, you know, I don't know, 7 to 9, 9 to 11, whatever time chunks you want to do. If you want to do it in 2-hour increments, 1-hour increments, you could even do a half-hour increment for some of the smaller tasks, you know, that you have to do, like maybe cleaning up the kitchen or something that doesn't take so long. But the main thing is, and how I do it is I use the Franklin Covey planner. I know a lot of people think that's like old fashioned, but I just love having like the actual physical planner, and I write things down, and then I could just like erase them and move things if I need to. But I use the Franklin Covey planner because that has it. I use the pages that have like the daily planner, and then within that day it has a section where it has the different time frames throughout the day, and I just kind of plot out what I'm going to work on in those times. So I really like using the paper, but there's many different ways you can do this. So the thing is though, make sure when you're laying out that schedule that you take into consideration times when you're not going to be able to work on a project. Like I kind of said before, you know, like when you're getting ready, when you're cooking dinner, if you have to go bring a kid to a practice, like anything like that, make sure those times are on your schedule, because you have to take into account that those are going to happen and you're not going to have time to be working on projects. So if you don't take that into account, you're going to think you're going to have a lot more time to work on projects than you actually will. So make sure those are all on the schedule. Oh, and also breaks too. Like, make sure you have some time for breaks for yourself. So, and be realistic about the time frames. Say if you have like running an errand on the schedule, like consider delays in travel time. Maybe you get stuck in traffic. Maybe there's a detour. Maybe you just get stuck behind someone who's doing like 15 miles an hour in a 30 for like 2 miles with a no passing lane. You never know what's going to happen. So allow for travel time, allow for, if you're going to a store, the potential that you might have to wait in line if the store is busy, or, if you get stuck behind someone at a store that's like trying to do a return, if they're having an issue. You never know what's going to happen. So always make sure you leave extra time in there for flexibility, because you don't want to have this really rigid, tight schedule where you're like rushing so that you can get to the next item on the list in the next time slot. Like, leave yourself a reasonable amount of time. And if there's like setup required to start a project or breakdown needed at the end of the project, like take that into account too. Say if there's 15 minutes of setup needed for something and 15 minutes of packing up time, you don't want to set a half hour for the project, because then you couldn't do anything but set up and break down. So just kind of keep that in mind and think about how much time you really need to get a good amount of work accomplished on the task you're trying to get done or to make progress on during that time. So yeah, it's like if you make the time frames long enough to get a good amount done, you'll feel really good when you're done. You'll feel like, okay, yeah, I didn't finish this project yet, but I got a really good amount done. So if I do this again for another couple days, I'll have this all done. And, one thing I really love about it is that, like I was saying before, we always have these big to-do lists, and I would always find it hard to focus on one thing without constantly having those other things running in the back of my mind and stressing me out. And not only was it the things that I could think of, it was the things that I couldn't think of too. It's like you kind of know, like, oh, I know there's just these other things that I should be doing, but like you can't really put your finger on them because you can't remember everything you're supposed to do. And it just, for me, this really just gives me peace of mind, knowing that there's a time assigned for everything on the list, and I don't have to sit there stressing about what I'm missing and what I'm getting behind on. And it's very, very helpful to me. I even used this for my son, who's in college. He goes to local community college and he works part-time, and he has some issues with time management and getting his schoolwork done and everything like that. So what we did for him is we set up a block schedule, and it had on there the travel time, like from home to school, and then the time he was at school, and then the travel time back home from school. It had his work schedule on it. And then it had in there, based on the free time that was available, we put on there the times when he needs to be doing schoolwork, because those are the times that he has free. And if he doesn't take advantage of those times, he's going to find himself getting behind, because the other times he's either at school or at work or at the gym or whatever. So it was really kind of helpful like that too. And maybe you could do that if you have kids, even, it doesn't have to be college, even in high school or middle school, where they have lots of outside activities, and they're kind of, maybe they have like practice one night, and then the next night they didn't take advantage to do certain projects because they're thinking, oh, they'll do it tomorrow, but then they're not thinking like, oh, well, tomorrow I have practice, and now they're getting behind. So if you kind of lay out and kind of show them when they actually have available time to work on things, it can really kind of help them too. So I thought that was really helpful with him, of kind of showing him how everything could lay out for the week. And if you, like I said before, if you find that everything isn't going to fit into a time slot, the only solution that you have is to reprioritize. So you just have to really look at things and just just realize that you can't do everything, and something's going to have to get put aside. So really look at the list and figure out what's the most important. It doesn't mean that it won't ever get done, but you're just going to have to say, look, this is just something I just don't have time for right now, and it's just going to have to get pushed to the back burner. So really pick your priorities when you're trying to set up your schedule. One suggestion that I saw on an article about block scheduling had an idea to have like an overflow day. So I thought that was kind of a good idea, where you kind of have one day where you don't actually plot out the day with specific tasks, but you just kind of leave it open to do catch up. Like if you just had something happen and you just couldn't get to stuff during the week, maybe a certain project you didn't get it far enough ahead as you really needed to, have kind of like an open day where you could do a catch-up day. But even if you do that, I would still suggest blocking out that day where you say, okay, from 10 to 12, I'm going to do catch-up, and I'm going to work on something that I didn't get enough done on during the week. Because if you leave it totally free, you can wind up running into one of those days where you're just kind of like, all right, well, first I'm going to like sit and read this book a little bit, and then I'm going to get to the work, or, let me just kind of like check Facebook or check my email, or, you don't want to leave it open like that, but you don't have to assign a specific task. You just say, okay, from this time to this time, I'm going to do catch-up work on anything I didn't get enough done on during the week that I really wanted to accomplish. So, oh yeah, and don't forget, make sure to schedule in breaks. Make sure to schedule in time to do things that you like to do during the week. It's not, this isn't about like being productive every single minute of the day. It's about helping you be productive. It's a plan. It helps keep you on track, but the purpose is to keep you on track, and it's not to overload you. It's not to work yourself till you drop. So don't overload your schedule. Be realistic, be flexible. I would suggest kind of just keeping in the back of your mind that sometimes you're just not going to get to everything. Like if something happens, if you have an emergency and you need to just ignore the schedule for a few hours or for a few days to deal with something important that's happened in your life, just pick up where you left off when you get back to it. You can only do so much, and by doing something like this, it's definitely helpful, but it's not perfect because things are going to happen. So that's pretty much it on block scheduling. I think it can be really helpful to you. I hope it's something that maybe you can use to help you in your life and manage everything that we have to do. So that's it on the topic. I would like to ask that if you have any feedback or topic suggestions, you could go to my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Lola's Frugal Life. It's all one word, no apostrophe. You can message me there. You could like the page, post a comment, whatever you want to do there on Facebook. I also do have a link on that Facebook page to my private listeners group, which I'm trying to build a nice group of people. That would be really great if we could have like a little community there where we can talk about different topics related to frugal living, habit tracking, productivity, meal planning, cleaning, all that kind of stuff that I love talking about. So you can click on the link to join the group there, or if you'd like, you can go directly to the group, which is facebook.com/groups/Lola's Frugal Life. Again, all one word, no apostrophe. And I would really, really love it if you join the group. I'd really like to build a nice little group of people on there. But I would really love your feedback too. If you don't have time for anything else, if you could even just send me a message to say I like this or I don't like this, or I'd rather if you did this or whatever. I'd really like to know. I really want to be helpful. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a really awesome day.